Now, this book, A Journey to the West, it seems like a journey to the West. Many of us still haven't received it. Now online, everyone's selling it like hotcakes. Some for 133 yuan, 140 yuan, some for 56 yuan, some for over 90 yuan. Now they're selling them everywhere, but those of us at the Academy still haven't gotten our hands on these books. How pitiful. If we haven't gotten them, I guess we can only visualize them. Now let's discuss the sixth mind training. Oral instructions from a sublime master are the path that leads to the palace of liberation, like a perfect staircase. What this means is, maybe saying what this means is too much is a bit redundant. Perhaps I don't need to say it every time. The way to free yourself from samsara and achieve liberation cannot be accomplished through just your own efforts. It can only be learned and accomplished by relying on the teachings of sublime masters. For instance, if you want to go to the top of a high building, without an elevator or stairs, you won't be able to make it with just your own effort. In the same way, without the instructions from a sublime master, even though there are Buddhist scriptures and Dharma texts, you won't be able to fully understand them with just your own intelligence. Without someone to teach the Dharma, even the wise cannot know it. So truly relying on a spiritual teacher is extremely important. If you don't have a spiritual teacher, actually without a master's pith instructions, even with tantric teachings, there's simply no way. Sometimes with Dharma texts, even if someone requests them, it's no use. They read them on their own and still can't understand. Everyone should understand this. It seems like what's written in the Dharma text is exactly the same, but if a spiritual teacher guides you, oh, so that's how it is. At the same time, as I mentioned the other day, there's a blessing involved. At that moment, you've already grasped the profundity of this teaching. Without this kind of guidance, you hear that these teachings are excellent. He, great perfection, Manjushri, Lama Yangtik, the great net of illusion, Yeshe Lama, and so on. You acquire a whole pile of them, but without faith and without the master's pith instructions, a Dharma text is just a text sitting there. No different from some corporate manual or something like that. There's no way it can integrate into your mind stream. The Dharma is like this. So sometimes we also think about meeting genuine masters, truly, and not just meeting them, but having the master teach this Dharma and understanding it ourselves, at least to some degree. This is truly such an honor in this lifetime. Among all the things that bring joy, this should be the most important. Therefore, instructions from a teacher are of vital importance. If there is no qualified teacher, then all of us will not know how to abstain from negativity and practice virtue. We would be totally at a loss, as ignorant as animals. If there's no teacher, if you only have a Dharma text, only have books, whether it's the Kangyur or treatises, no matter how many you have, sometimes if you really don't have the pith instructions, I think, except for a very few, with the karmic connection or sharp faculties, most people won't understand. Only when you are accepted and guided by virtuous teachers, gradually, you come to know, oh, so this is how it is. Only then do you understand. Only when you are accepted and guided by virtuous teachers will you get to know the extraordinary method that not only brings peace and happiness within this life, but also leads to joy and happiness life after life. Such a teacher, even 100,000 wish-fulfilling jewels cannot compare with his or her value. They are extremely hard to encounter. Indeed, when a group of us encounters good teachers, this is extremely precious. In the future, in this world, there may be many so-called teachers in name, but those who truly help you realize the truth of the Dharma, who knows how many there will be. You need to open your eyes wide and see this world clearly. There are 3 ways to please a teacher while relying on him or her: to practice virtue and abandon negative deeds, let go of attachment to this life, and focus solely on the pursuit of liberation. This is the best way of pleasing the teacher, to follow the teacher's instructions and wholeheartedly devote yourself to the activities of the teacher, including being sent on a mission. This is the middling way of relying on the teacher, serving the teacher, doing whatever needs to be done, offering service to the teacher. This is the middling way. The minimum way to please your teacher is to offer all of what you have to the teacher and the teacher's Dharma center, and to participate in all kinds of virtuous activities initiated by the teacher, such as building Buddha statues. This is the minimum way of relying on the teacher. Nowadays, many people think the best disciple is the one who gives me offerings. This is the best disciple. The middling disciple, this doesn't change, is the one who serves me and offers their labor. This is middling. As for study, contemplation, and meditation, they don't care. No matter how well you practice, it has nothing to do with me. Some teachers might be like this, but generally, for a truly qualified spiritual teacher, diligently engaging in study, contemplation, and meditation is superior, service is middling, and donating to the teacher's Dharma center and such is the minimum. Without this kind of dedication and merit, it's very difficult to sustain one's practice of the Dharma. This is also the reason. Let me reiterate the 3 ways of following the Guru. When encountering a Guru who is as precious as a wish-fulfilling jewel, it is best that you follow his or her instructions to forsake negative deeds and engage in virtuous practice. If you are unable to accomplish that, then you should earnestly do whatever the Master needs you to do, such as building shrine halls, making statues of Buddhas, printing scriptures, erecting stupas, and so on. Every day negotiating with factory owners. How much does this cost? How much for the materials? If you're not careful over time, you might end up becoming a businessman yourself. In the past, many of us monastics in the finance department, some started out offering service by doing business, but then our habitual tendencies are quite easy to bloom and bear fruit. And gradually, after finishing their service, in the end they disrobed and continued doing business. So for those of us offering service, we need to be careful on one hand. Otherwise, even though we're temporarily offering service for the 3 jewels, if we're not mindful, eventually we can't pull ourselves back. And in the end, there might be some danger. We need to be careful. Although serving the teacher in these ways is excellent, when it reaches a certain point, we still need to be mindful. If this is also beyond your ability, at the very least, you should generously offer all of your possessions to the teacher and his or her Dharma center. All might be a bit difficult. All here means all that you're willing to part with. For example, if you have 100 yuan, if you're willing to part with 1 yuan, then offer without stinginess all that you're willing to give. Don't be miserly. If you're stingy, it won't work. You originally intended to give 10 yuan, but you bring out a 100 yuan bill. That won't do. That's offering all your possessions with stinginess. Offering all your possessions without stinginess. Without stinginess means that whether you have 100 yuan, 1 yuan, or even 1 meo, it's all fine. Whatever you offer is acceptable. Don't worry about how it appears on the surface. This is very important, especially regarding Dharma centers. I think nowadays teachers aren't really like that, you know. Generally speaking, a teacher's lifestyle is quite simple. If there are Dharma centers and projects that need doing, then offerings are appropriate. But if there aren't any projects, there's no need to make offerings to the teacher. Study, contemplation, and meditation are best. I think study, contemplation, and meditation are most important. They bring no harm to yourself or others. Otherwise, if offerings become excessive, if the teacher is a genuine practitioner, they probably won't be attached to wealth and will use it properly and appropriately. But if the teacher is just an ordinary person, when money accumulates to a certain point, they might do all sorts of harmful things. It's hard to say, so it's better to focus on study, contemplation, and meditation yourself. That's safer for both yourself and others. If you fail to serve the teacher through any of the 3 ways, then obtaining the precious human rebirth and encountering a guru will not have much meaning. Well, there is some meaning, but if you can't even follow the teacher's instructions, can't serve, can't offer your dedication, if you can't do any of these things, then perhaps your faith isn't quite sufficient. So I don't know, your practice might be compromised as well. For my part, I don't think you should show excessive devotion. His Holiness said this is his first time here. And reverence to me, a person you've just met for the first time and don't even know if I have faults or merit. Don't be overly devoted and respectful. At the time, they were actually being extremely respectful to His Holiness, so His Holiness was worried they were all being too much like that toward him. The masters you should serve and work for with great veneration are those who are always with you, who can bring you true benefit. The teachers from your own Dharma centers, or those who reside here in this country, in America, the teachers you're familiar with, they will definitely benefit you. 7th mind training. Non-conceptual concentration is the basis for the emergence of all states of samadhi, like a fertile field. This is to say that if you want to achieve the same state of samadhi as those attained by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you must first have mastery over your own mind and abide in meditative concentration. Thus, you must make an effort to practice meditation. The instructions on the 7 common mind trainings are now complete. The morning session you scheduled for 2 hours, but since the last part of the empowerment ritual failed to be completed in due time, it was extended for an extra half hour. That was really out of my control, so please forgive me. His Holiness, probably some people asked His Holiness to say something, because originally the morning session was supposed to be 2 hours. Our Chetsun Yingtig session was 2.5 hours, and actually His Holiness didn't really explain much at that time. He was translating continuously with great effort. But later the time ran over, and many people seemed a bit unhappy afterward. If it were in Tibetan areas and His Holiness taught for half a day, everyone would be delighted. Nothing like this would happen. But His Holiness, look, here he's apologizing to them. Now this session will end exactly after 2 hours. After that, His Holiness paid more attention, constantly checking the time, and finished class right at 2 hours, not a minute more or less. His Holiness later became quite punctual. When we got to France, Sogyal Rinpoche said, "You can take more time or less time, it doesn't matter. You can teach however you want. I'm in charge of the students below, no problem." After that, His Holiness taught them extensively. Very relaxed, teaching freely and spontaneously. So this session will end exactly after 2 hours. There is nothing left. You must be happy about this. Now, it's time to go home and sleep. Laughs. His Holiness said, "Go home and sleep." And everyone burst into laughter. This laughter was fine. But in the afternoon, at that time His Holiness wasn't feeling well or something. His Holiness probably made them laugh by saying, "Go home and sleep." I remember it was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If it were evening, saying "Go home and sleep" would be fine, but in the afternoon saying "Go home and sleep," they probably thought it was too early, that it wasn't time to sleep yet or something. Everyone burst into laughter. Next is 2 profound practices. We can just cover a bit of this today. 2 profound practices. On July 11th, His Holiness conferred the empowerment of Vajrakilaya Guru Kukma. During the empowerment, he gave this teaching. Both the Peaceful Manjushri and Vajrakilaya Guru Kukma cycles have their own auxiliary teachings, but they are very few in number, not as many as other Terma teachings in the Nyingma tradition. Very, very few. Other Terma teachings are extremely numerous, volume after volume, especially abundant. Not that many is what I mean. In terms of its content, the Peaceful Manjushri provides the stage-by-stage instructions for the complete path, including the practical and skillful methods for the preliminary and main practices. It can be explained by combining the teachings from the outer aspect, the prophecies from the inner aspect, and the instructions from the secret aspect. It can also be taught according to the Tantras, or according to the 7-line prayer, or according to the commentaries. His Holiness has also taught according to commentaries, prophecies, several different approaches. In the past, he taught this Manjushri practice at the Academy. Basically, most of my Dharma compositions were completed in my teenage years. In general, they were all composed because of the requests of others. Whoever requested them, I'd entrust them to that person, and afterward I never bothered to manage them. Nonetheless, some of my disciples have collected them, and now they've been compiled into about 4 volumes. At that time, His Holiness's books comprised about 4 volumes. Actually, many of them were already lost. Among His Holiness's books, whoever requested them, he'd write it for them, and then it was gone. Some are from Tibetan areas. These current texts, traditional handmade woodblock prints, and many are machine printed from the Han region, like the kind of Dharma texts we have now. Now the next 2 paragraphs, otherwise some of us might be dozing off without even knowing it, maybe from altitude sickness or something. The Peaceful Manjushri and other teachings, if classified by location, they're called teachings composed in the Han region. Vajrakilaya Guru Kukma includes those used for extensive practice, including its ritual for confessing and restoring damaged and broken vows, as well as prayers of subjugating activity and fire offering that were composed at the request of Gyalwa Rinpoche and the Nechung protector. All these teachings, plus accomplishing all activity, a daily practice of the great and glorious Dorje Drolo, a terma that I revealed at Paro Taktsang, and the quintessence of oceanic prayers of aspiration that I composed at the Vajra seat, are all classified into teachings composed in India. Among His Holiness's current teachings, there are pure vision teachings, terma teachings, as well as teachings from India and teachings from the Han region. Among His Holiness's works, there seem to be several different categories of teachings. This time, I have given you the transmission of the Peaceful Manjushri and Vajrakilaya Gurkukma, which can be found in the text in your hands. At that time, His Holiness recited for them the transmissions of Vajrakilaya Gurkukma and Peaceful Manjushri. I don't need to recite all of this. Some time ago, Rinpoche already recited all of these for everyone. The empowerments of all these teachings have already been recited, but for the sake of an auspicious connection, I'll recite the lineage prayer for Peaceful Manjushri's great perfection, and then the quintessence of oceanic prayers of aspiration. It's probably fine if it runs a bit late. And then for Vajrakilaya, the lineage prayer at the beginning of Vajrakilaya Gurkukma. We've recited these three at the Academy before, but this time it's to transmit them to all of you. His Holiness originally said, "Between Manjushri and me, and between Manjushri and you, there's no one in between except for me." So before His Holiness and these great masters, I directly received these transmissions from Wutai Mountain and India, so I'll recite them directly for you. First is the lineage prayer for Vajrakilaya Gurkukma.
Program Gurkumi Chashi Tudam Tiji Purchik Jishawa Jigso Gendib Shinlab Nirnjig Jig Kabdakan of Zandan Dorji from Surkyo Dorji Jima Tromchos and Legend Kabrananam Surandis of Chana Varchas or Guji Demcha Dorji Lorda Dorji Java Ngombo Pamam Tranle Sara Lero Landa Pama Wanchin La Surandis of Chana Varcha True Yero and James Kumar Chubji Yao Zapsu Guma Pudrumji Washing Yula Surandis of Chana Varchas of Shotim Samarziki Persian Nati Sakum Hair number Sada Santir Shantiv Semjir Sardo de Yansan Tigler Bam Munjer Show Jibanda Churukteton Lero Lambi Yanch Rings and Jimmy Punso Johnny Jarnga Niki Tana Param Gurkuma Gendib Jigum Jogo Ji Kurma Chirter Nawa Tard Lerman Rero Shirtigel Notans and Jams Woda Chichtar Dav Dumbi Tsech Chig Shodo Chirgur Gups Tambal or Dav Dumbi Tse Nyasumla Tripa Gelam Par.
This is the lineage prayer for Vajrakilaya Gurkukma. This is the lineage prayer for Peaceful Manjushri's great perfection, because within this, all the lineage master's blessings are present, so this can also be considered a blessing for everyone.
Jahur Jujubji Ginde Tapak Surman Jigso, Choyam Tapter Churki Jankams, Kachudan Domi, Sansas and Jahur Kundos on Soran, the Katamonsor Topper Shinji, Ranan Talonki Jankams. Nibarngardan Taki Shirjarzon, Jahro Durjan Chan Sura and there's no Jam Tarab Shimber Shinjilo, Mangin Roder Turkey Jankams, a counter tree, Rora Cheon. Jahurishi San Sura and Dev Tandru Tonchin Jabber Shinjilo, Nechan River Singing Jankams and Jahor Tijishan Ilarman, Jimmy Panzo Sura. Gonji Toban Poro Shinji Lo Zhanya Stab Yedab Lama Yetam La Kandro Tamjim Chilak Sora and the Shinlo Ngujum Chukton Chunlin Javarchin Tata Jiver Shinji Lop der Tuxura Tap Shinlab Center Church Lasso Gondam Per Shimanjin Cholama Jimcher Dan Yermit Somach Chig Jabber Show Jiban De Gang Lama Choyan Dan Sudun Soki Jekung Jendang Lojum Som Chirjam Rower Yang Asri Triput Copa Gay Go.
And then the quintessence of oceanic prayers of aspiration. I've just gathered all of these together here, so we'll still symbolically transmit them to everyone.
Mulum Jamsu Yang Yang Gamzan Jinganima Jisha Jigso, Jan Sozon Hardy Trimberg, Yanlok Chipjerdam Batsan, Stopji on the Gunner Zobot, Tamal Hai, Hamcho Gonsos, or Dungersum, Chichenary, Gungo Sitchin, the Juniors, Antonin Doba, Yvin George, Lamy Shantum Shot to Saint Dr. Kajun Drogan, Randon Jude Harla Match of Jam and Humber Sanger, James and Jibber to be drawn to the Tiak and the Yacht. Jahur Jijin Jizon, Ekonozambor Mon left and Beshan, Shoban, some Darjan Jama, Namjang Jacob Gendarmons and Yavitserto, Start the Jamjan, Yenim Chok, the Dear Lapton, Trinity Perum, Tato, Zanglikim, Jerison, Sender Butsev de Chen Jean de Kie, Womson Tomber, Songo Longton, Kipsini, Sergeant over the German Kertan Tarjan, Rimendron, Pande Huargin, Sotigan, Yilar, Mombanda Konam, Tanger Songo, Wayonton, Trashi Kanji Pansor David, Mali Kegin, so Mashir Gubab Sarjamani, Galak no Sassam, Cabra, Show, Jiban Yero, Dorjam, Shanchu Chung, Gam, Devian Sherbi, Trung de Ngan Lojum, Somet. Pe Mumba Jinde Lar Japable Yiker Kopa Gego Sonamandai Tamchada Zigba
Sonamandai Tamchada Zigba Jana Bashi Kirgana Jirano Chubai Jupun Solen Dra
Bandara Badma Sodargye Bandara Badma Sodargye Bandara Badma Sodargye